We don't know where Judge Constantine's gonna park. He was parking as well.
I'm right before it.
Right. Yeah, I got here about quarter till 8. I had my fit.
No longer this, I'm sure. But the two cases.
You ever take this if that was you getting behind the field?
Fortunately, it was not me being towed this morning.
Too late for a tow truck pulling the car out of the ditch.
I did sit there for like 15, 20 minutes. All right, ready? Morning, everyone. Thank you. We'll call to order the January 27th meeting of the Madison County Board of Commissioners. If everybody will please introduce themselves.
Tony Sneakus.
Brendan Shea.
Rob Swain. Nick Atkins, prosecutor. John Sweeney, sheriff.
Ron Mayer is the clerk.
Brian Boone. Harold Chamber. Henry Weaver. That Plow.
Amy Race clerk.
Thank you. Everybody should have received a copy of last week's meeting minutes.
Thank you. Approve the minutes, dispense with the reading.
Second.
The first and a second, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Shea,
Yes.
Dr. Sneakers, Mr. Wallace.
Yes. Sheriff, would you like to get started this morning, sir?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone, and it's warm in here as we face this frigid day. As expected, the storm that we've all prepared for has arrived here, and we've gotten through it very well. Not surprising that we could end up going to a level 3. Shut things down. I wanted to touch on that with your honorable board this morning. There's a lot that goes in, I'm sure you're aware, in making those decisions, not just because our neighbors are going to level 3. Their equipment, their officers and their maintenance crew are not our responsibility. We do our own around here. And I've said before, usually what puts us into a position or I decided to put us into a level 3, it is not just the fact that we have a bunch of snow or that it's drifting. It is winter in Ohio. We do get snow and we'll probably get more. It is the fact that the roadways that we're seeing normally is that we can't get to you. We told you to heed the warnings at a level 2. We've now went to level 3. We told you not to be on the roadway. You could be subject to criminal action if you're caught on the roadway. And the reason is because our resources can't get to you. We are tied up at that point in time. That our cars are starting to go down. The county trucks can't keep up, or the county trucks, are normally facing some maintenance issues and have to be repaired and brought back on the road. But that wasn't the case for this particular level 3. We actually did very well. All our equipment did well. Amenities that we have out there are annexed to get those cars in, get them thawed out. Consulted with the engineer, and their equipment did very well. All the trucks were on the road. ODOT, they had trucks out. The issue with this one is they just couldn't keep up. They were getting so much snow in such a short time, they couldn't keep up, and cars were starting just to get stuck in the roadway, and that was one of the big factors. We went to level 3. Everyone needed the warning. Give them an opportunity to do what they do. I'm sure we'll let the engineer touch on that when he has his turn here. But kudos to all our road crews. Just when I got out by 4 yesterday morning, started checking the roadways, even the intersections were starting to be pushed back. They got the bulk of the snow off the roadway. They're very, very valuable. So here we are. We're now at level 1, and eventually I'll probably pull that, even though there may still be some snow or ice on the roadway. It's winter time. It could be here for quite some time. It doesn't maybe constitute an emergency. We just live where it has snow. So, other than that, I don't have any business items for your board this morning. I didn't know if you had any questions, us or questions, sheriff on it.
I don't believe so, sir. Thank you for all your efforts. Appreciate it. Mr. Atkins? Morning.
The only thing I wanted to touch on, just remind you, is that there's the court hearing tomorrow morning on the show cause. I did review the resolution. I think Commissioner Shaver prepared that and what we think prepared that. I reviewed that, both versions, and had no concerns.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Doom?
Yeah, good morning. So as the sheriff alluded to, we've been busy the last couple of days. We've had crews out since 10 PM Saturday night on a 24-hour schedule. We're fortunate enough, we've got 2 drivers per route. We're able to get into a 24-hour situation pretty easily. So with our 9 trucks, 9 routes and 14 townships that we work collectively with, we've had anywhere from 20 to 23 trucks out continuously since Saturday night. 10 o'clock. So been very fortunate with equipment. Couple things here and there, but by and large, no major issues. Roads are opened up. Today we'll be focusing on piling back. We've got some drifts that need to get pushed back, some intersection piles that we need to look at, that sort of thing. Big thing I want to remind everyone with the temperatures that are in the 10-day forecast, you've got 14-ish inches of snow out there that's not going anywhere. Anytime the wind picks up, it's going to start blowing and drifting. So, this is something we're going to be dealing with for a couple of weeks anyway. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing we're not used to. So we'll deal with it, but it'll be that'll be what we'll be working on for the next couple of weeks anyway. So stay in close touch with the sheriff. We always talk through the snow level issue. That whole thing always generates a lot of feedback from the public, and it's important to understand the intentionality that goes behind the decision making on that. So, any questions for me? Anything you're hearing that I might be able to on salt? So we have not been treating any roads yet. We've been focusing on getting snow off the road. And then with the temperatures being as low as they are, it's not effective when it's 0 degrees anyway. So if it starts warming up in the daytime and the sun's out, we can start working on intersections and hills and curves. We're not necessarily low on salt. We're not out or anything like that, but we've got 875 tons on order that is trickling in. Their cargo is out in Columbus. It's coming straight from Cleveland. So we've been in touch with Franklin County. So we've got backup if we need to on salt supply, but that is a bit of a statewide issue that's affecting local governments, so counties, municipalities, even the commercial operations are in the same boat. So just one of those winters where demand for salt is up there. So
Very good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you and your crew's efforts. Bill. Thank you.
Sure. I didn't think about this previously, but what type of guidance do you give for someone who is out in level 2 and it becomes a 3?
Even when we transition to a 2 or 3?
Yeah.
I guess it would depending on what is their reasoning for being out. I mean, obviously people have to get home.
Yeah.
If you're out in a 2 and then we go to a 3, you decide to go home. I mean, that's understandable. if you are out in a three, are you able to articulate the importance, or are you critical nurse, doctor, medical, you go into medical emergency. Sometimes some people that their employers tell them, if you don't come in, we're firing you. I understand the livelihood of people. We're not trying to affect the livelihood of people. You have a good reason and be able to articulate why you're out in that conditions, other than I ran out of beer and wine. You might not like the outcome. And secondly, when we get to conditions like that, we're probably not actively out pulling over cars. We, I'll be honest with you, when we get to conditions like that, I tell my guys to position themselves strategically in the county, maybe at a firehouse, get that equipment inside, get thawed out, prepared to respond sometimes, because I don't need them getting out, getting themselves stuck, and then they're no help to our citizens. So, so when we do get that call, and they have to go, and you're, crashed or wrecked, or you're blocking the roadway, and now the plow trucks can't get through because we got to get all the equipment there, and you tell me that, if you're going to,
Bingo.
yeah, bingo, or your bread just ran out, that, you're probably not gonna like the outcome. So,
I started communication with all of the staff, the prosecutor's office, the assistant prosecutors, and included the law directors for London and WestJet. We talked about the options that law enforcement have. It's misconduct, and that's the basis for the charge. All of us talked about giving drivers some grace, inquiring as to what the reason was that they were out. There is an enhancement of the offense if you are posing a risk of harm to persons and property. So our general consensus was focused on that. If the individual is causing a risk to others, that's where we would want it.
So someone who's out in a two, you'd say you should have a good reason for that, but assuming you're trying to get home, right? I mean, that,
yeah, I had quite a few conversations yesterday when we were at it too. I met even people that I knew, they rolled the window, I'm like, why are you out?
yeah.
Well, I had to come to the store and get something. I said, well, I get it, but didn't you know the storm was coming? Like, even know that you can be out, because you thought it was, necessarily, you should have just stayed in.
And a perfect example is the court's still closed at level 2.
Okay,
Court.
Yeah.
so that's a legitimate, yeah.
Ron, does that include private snowplow contractors on level 3?
We generally, on our discretion, don't, they're kind of feeling an essential need.
We
to
talked
get-
about that.
Yeah, to get to, residents in the county, business in the county, to get them prepared to open back up. Yeah, I don't have any, knowledge of any interaction of officers stopping any snowplow people that I'm aware of, unless you are.
No.
So all I need to do is put a snowplow on my truck then.
That's right.
I got one.
If you have one, you may be busy that day.
I can deliver beers.
There you
Make a pretty deliver beer.
Fly driveway.
Drop off amenities.
That's right. In charge of premium, you know what happened? I just thought of something. You gotta be on to something.
Work the system.
All right, let's keep the show on the road. Morning.
I'm here to talk about the water and sewer district conversations that we're having for the 2942 wastewater expansion. So that project was sent out to bid for Mid-Ohio Water and Sewer District, and they are kind of seeking some funding sources for that project, and we talked about potentially doing a TIP. So I just wanted to give you an update on where we are with that. And so they have put the package out to bid, and so they'll be opening up February 12th. They had their consultants do a TIF analysis on what that would look like. So they already have planned a 0% interest rate from I can't remember which which funding agency it is, but they already have kind of a source of funds, with that, but
So 30
30-year,
percent interest.
and they're estimating the project total to be about $3 million. Um, the TIF originally that they had speaking for that area was only one parcel that we anticipate that needs the wastewater. But that area getting wastewater is gonna access a lot more potential, and there's a lot of development in the 2942 corridor, so we're asking him to go back and see what it would look like for a larger area, since it's gonna benefit that larger area. So there are a lot of different, ways we can utilize if for that project. You can use 1075 or 30 years, 100%, anything. So one of the reasons why we're going back to do an analysis is because we're trying to walk back from that number. If the plan that we're talking about, if it's to utilize the TIF fully for the funding source for the water and wastewater improvements, and that's estimated to be about 3 million. They'll know once they get the bids back. And it's kind of walking back that number over that 30-year term. So if the TIF, looking at the wider area, is gonna provide, I don't know, we're still waiting for the numbers, but if it's gonna be 10 million, well, maybe we don't need the full 100% 30-year. Maybe we can make it make sense for the 3 million that's being requested to fund that project. So that's kind of one set is where we just need more information on what the numbers would look like if we want to move forward with providing that support to get the water and wastewater out there. Or sorry, just wastewater out there.
And waters.
Yeah, water's up there.
Okay.
Would it be going, west?
It could,
Too,
it could, but
but the plan right now is just to go east.
yeah, to, past EB to
Intersection.
that intersection there, but basically where the water terminates now. And EB's reached out to us numerous times with concerns, they want to expand. The only way they're able to expand is to, have wastewater service. In addition to that, is it Speedway?
Yeah,
So you've got, Speedway also looking to develop there, and they're looking at a wastewater, on-site wastewater treatment process that's going to be very expensive for the property owner. So there's two entities right there that would benefit today.
and I've also, just in the short time I've been here, I've had a lot of people already call interested, whether it's property owners or, it's kind of chicken or the egg, but a lot of it, the way the infrastructure needs to be there. So they're waiting to really execute on moving forward with development of that area until they have that infrastructure there. So we feel like there's a lot less risk whenever it comes to kind of seeing the revenue stream from that if using a TIF. Because once the development occurs, or once the infrastructure is in place, it's really only a matter of time before the investment goes onto the property and then adding money into that TIF.
But to your question, Tony, it could go, because it turns right there, so it can easily go in the other direction as well. So, and go straight as well, across the creek and, if they put up properties there.
And also, I'm not sure. The TIFs, but it's just a reminder, it's not necessarily an abatement, it's redistribution of taxes for the purpose of infrastructure. So the company or they're still paying the taxes, it's just instead of going towards the school district or whatever it is, it's being redirected specifically for the infrastructure. So but it's beneficial for the whole area that receives that additional, kind of opening up the area for that extension of the water, for wastewater.
I assume that we get the loan, 30-year loan interest free, the TIF revenues then to pay that loan back, or would it just? I assume that would be the case.
And I think the payment on the debt would, there'd be several different sources. I mean, there's tap fees, there's, user rates, and tip dollars. So I would say a combination of those three, would pay for the project. But I also wanted to mention, not only sewer, but also any type of road improvements. And, that's probably where we bring the engineer in. What does that look like? What could, possibly benefit from that tip, those tip dollars as far as road improvements go? And, is this a project where we want to get the TID involved? Same way with the 161 corridor, that TID might, have some, be a useful tool moving forward, but these are all things that we're trying to wrap our heads around right now. What is needed as far as infrastructure goes on that corridor? That is one of your economic development focus areas. So, development is not gonna happen unless infrastructure is there. How do you pay for the infrastructure?
I'm sure Andy Rosart will kind of be running those in area to see what a 30-year, 15-year, kind of what that
Yeah.
looks like, and maybe give us
And he did.
2 or 3 different options to see what might be the best.
So you made those numbers whenever we were looking just at that one parcel.
Yep.
Now that we're wanting to kind of expand that to consider what the tip would be, because all of those properties are gonna benefit from having access to that wastewater line. So the thought is, well, why don't we take the revenue generated from that increased value and put it towards the infrastructure that they're gonna benefit from? So, yeah, so initially we just did it on a smaller scope. We're taking a little bit wider of a view on how to utilize the tip. So we should have those numbers back to us soon.
Yeah, the money just from that one parcel is pretty insignificant when compared to the whole area and to the cost of the project. But we just wanted to start early in the process, to start providing you guys information on, what's being looked at, different options, so forth, so on. So at this point in time, we're not really asking for any, authorization.
Yeah. And part of it too is to also give the Mid-Ohio Water and Sewer Board an understanding of that revenue, stream for them to pay. Because yeah, it's a 0% loan, but there's still the principal that's due every month. And so this would really just kind of secure that revenue stream and make it a little bit easier for them to not worry how they're paying for it. Because 30 years is a long time to ensure that revenue stream. And then also it helps a little bit on the front kind of side of that investment.
So I have a couple of questions. So what was the catalyst for this idea? Was it servicing EV? Was that the catalyst or?
Well, it was, this is, a long-term goal, but so I teed it up 2-3 years ago. And then it didn't really move, after we passed it off to Mid-Ohio. Since then, as a year or 2 years ago, EB approached the county and said, hey, can you help facilitate this? Because we want to expand, and if we're not able to expand, we may have to look elsewhere. So to move that operations completely out of Madison County to another location, which of course, that was somewhat of a wake-up call, alarm bell. So then we started to engage Mid-Ohio, saying, hey, this is a priority project. We don't want to lose this employer in Madison County. They understood that. So that is kind of the goal that we're working towards now. Long-winded answer to your question, but EB and then Speedway kind of came into the picture as well.
Yeah, so EB has communicated to us a number of times their desire to expand that location. I mean, they'd
Yeah.
like to stay in Madison County, but they need to see the utilities there. In order to feel confident, they need to see movement in order to feel confident the utilities are coming that will support their expansion.
I think Jeff had a question back there. He was saying it twice already.
Not really a question, but a concern. Jefferson Township's already been grown by citizens inside the village. And, at one point, we do have a pilot program for the abatements that might occur, that we would, ask that you consider at least a pilot for the tips as well. So in 30 years that we're servicing someplace for $0 is not fair to us.
I would disagree with that statement, and that is not the county's intention at least.
Thank you.
And with that too, there's a couple of different ways for a TIF to be, analyzed. There's a, I believe, TIF on the property and on the land, on the building and on the land. So that can affect some of the, rates that's paid to the levy entities, jurisdictions. So that's also something to take into consideration when kind of doing the analysis. And even if we do a TIF, if it's structured a certain way, there can still be some of that, original revenue stream that was intended for the jurisdiction to end up going there. And then also with the increased value of the land, it would still be more than, and that's part of it. Using all these various economic development tools. The idea is that if not for the investment, the project wouldn't happen. And so whenever you're looking at some of these, especially property tax type incentives, the idea is that development wouldn't happen if we didn't have the infrastructure. So that's why the idea of kind of evaluating on if this is beneficial for the kind of community or the project is thinking of it, if this investment didn't go there, if these tip dollars weren't redirected towards the infrastructure, would that project invest there? If not, then the land would stay the same value that it is. You'd still be getting the same type of revenue generation that we're getting now. And if we do the TIF or then it kind of expedites that revenue stream investment. Now the property is valued more, we're getting more dollars, tax dollars, having employees come, so that's kind of trickling down from that. So.
I have a question about your statement about this being helpful for Mid-Ohio because of a consistent revenue stream. So if that's a consideration on a $3 million project, what would be the situation on, let's say they were able to get a zero interest loan
Yeah,
for the much, much larger project all the way to 42?
Right.
I mean, if 3 million, if they need that consistent revenue stream from a TIF,
yeah,
what would be the plan for going up 42?
that is a great question. And
That's probably a Mid-Ohio question more than this.
I think part of it comes on and we can talk about kind of philosophy on when we kind of approach with certain tools and when not to. I think part of it is, this is a project that we're more or less asking Mid-Ohio Water and Sewer to prioritize. And, they have their own list of priorities and projects, it's really large investment that they are looking to do. So, and maybe Rob can speak to this too, but I think part of it is since we're asking them to put this up higher on the priority list to make it happen sooner rather than later, so we can see those other, that investment happen. That's part of why we're asking to consider a TIF, so that,
To help them,
because we're,
as sort of a negotiating tactic, we're asking you to prioritize this, so we're gonna help you with the TIF, is that what you're saying?
a little bit, maybe,
I mean, I would hope that they wouldn't need that type of negotiation to be able to work with us on something that's a
Yeah.
priority, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know if
It's not a negotiation tactic. I mean, they need revenue streams. I mean, they're always going to need revenue streams, revenue fund, they're gonna need funds for every project. So whether it's a project in Plain City or in the unincorporated area or in London, I mean, they're always going to be looking for revenue streams, and just TIFs are one tool in that toolbox to provide them with consistent revenue streams to support infrastructure investment. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, Mid-Ohio is gonna be having conversations with us, with the Village of Plain City, with the City of London regarding these tools to provide revenue streams for future infrastructure investment, and that's the whole purpose of those items.
yeah, maybe negotiating tactic was there.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
yeah, I didn't mean to put words in your mouth, I'm just trying to understand,
Yeah.
what their incentive is. Do you have a sense of the time frame?
We, so timing, bids opened up February 12th, so that'll give us a better idea of what the actual ask will end up being. And,
Wait for it.
they're also finalizing one easement that's needed, but the property owner seems very, because again, this is a property owner that will see the benefit of the wastewater coming through, so I don't anticipate that being very long to process, and as they don't either.
Yeah,
And then,
there's a lift station that needs to be placed on that property. They were resistant in the beginning, but now are starting to understand that, you know, this benefits their property as a whole, making it all that much more valuable for development, so.
and then they'll have, kind of loan documents prepared for the agency that's giving them that 0% loan, so all of that stuff has to be prepared, so as far as timing, you know, as soon as that can move, and then whenever we get those numbers from Andy, trying to figure out what you're wanting to move forward, that what your comfortability level is with the terms.
And I think we'll keep, not applying pressure, but keep working with Ohio to get this done. And as we stated, it's a priority project. We've been approached by the employer on multiple occasions with a desire to expand. We want to keep them here. We want to keep them happy. You know, they are ready to go. They're ready to expand, so we want to keep that iron in the fire. Is there still any thought to having, I know at one point they may be going to ask EP to contribute to that infrastructure as well, or is that still on the table?
It is. I had sent you an email with possible few different scenarios there, and I really didn't get a response back from them, but yeah, that is still being considered. And I will say, you know, where I left this project, where I handed this project off to Mid-Ohio, which was, you know, basically ready to go to bid. The engineer's estimate was about 3.2 million. So I would expect over the last couple of years for that amount to increase. So I think engineer's estimate now is like 3.5 or 3.7. So that does push that number up a bit. But again, I think Savannah said it in the best way, it's risk and avoidance, mitigation of the risk. So they are assured that they can, you know, pay back. Even though it's 0% for 30 years, they still have to be able to cover those
Yeah, and they've
costs.
got a lot of investment to make, right?
Yeah.
This isn't the only project, as you alluded to, there are a number of irons in the fire, number of projects that are working on, so I mean, they're gonna be looking at revenue streams, ways to finance infrastructure projects, as it relates to development, you know, private development, they're gonna be looking at these tools.
And also too, as far as what the tips, you know, there's estimates on how much, will be in the TIF throughout the course of the 30 years and however long it's going to do it. And there can be language that says, you know, here are the projects that we want the TIF to pay for, this wastewater, if there's any roadway improvements, whatever that looks like. Once those have been addressed through this revenue stream, we can cancel the TIF. So it's no longer a burden to the taxing jurisdiction. So that's also a possibility, because these are, you know, these TIF estimates are not necessarily set in stone. If development happens faster than what the estimates are, then that TIF will generate money much more quickly. And then, you know, so those projects will be paid to at least quickly pace. So you can always kind of cancel that TIF when it serves its purpose to really make, you know, be good stewards of taxpayer dollars and respecting other taxing jurisdictions. That's something that we can, like, there is in there.
Oh, yeah, if the development comes quicker than anticipated, it really does open up that corridor, and that's means the TIF will get, you know, that would be paid back.
Right.
All the more quicker that loan will get paid back, TIF's no longer in effect. You're collecting taxes as you normally do.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we just wanted to make sure that the appetite was there to pursue the idea. So we're not, you know, just wasting time and resources, but we want to make sure you guys were like, yeah, keep on, or no, we prefer not, so.
Yeah, I'd say we want to keep on keeping on. I think we certainly want to see the scenarios that they lay out what those various scenarios look like from the finance person.
Yeah, I have questions, but that's what you're gonna be providing for us, right?
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to start today, like, start talking about it, allow you time to formulate questions, give us time to provide those answers, thoroughly and methodically go through.
Let's make sure we keep the township involved.
And part of it is they do, once they kind of have the information and wanting to move quickly, that's why it's helpful for us to have information as much as we have it now. And as we get more information, we can share that so we can make decisions. As
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Didn't want to come in with, a tip to be like, there you go, without any knowledge of it. So,
No, that's a good first opening salvo. So yeah, I'm sure the conversation will continue. We now have to move, now 9:30. We will move to Mr. Whitaker Wright in the Madison County 2026 CDBG public hearing number 1. Whitaker?
Good morning, everybody. This is our first public hearing for PY 26 for the state small cities CDBG home program. This year is our allocation year. We will be applying in June for roughly $170,000+. In 2024, our funding was $170,000. That may be raised because with the new American Community Survey, London and West Jefferson are now considered LMI, which is a real change. And to my knowledge, West Jefferson has never been considered LMI in the time that I've been working with the county. So they may have a lot of interest in potential projects. If that's the case, then the funding may actually go up to about $180,000. We'll find out more about that in April. But today what I want to do is our mandatory. We go through all the potential programs that the county is eligible to apply for and just to provide general information to the public. The first group of programs are the housing programs run by the Department of Development. One is the Community Housing Impact and Preservation Program, also known as the CHIP program. The CHODO operating program, that's primarily for community action agencies, as is the Housing Development and Housing Assistance Program. There are also the Sheltered and Supportive Housing programs that DoD runs. Those typically now are primarily geared to designated nonprofits. Some years ago, the state began an RFP program for homeless assistance, and based on the scoring, they require a very high level of compliance before they'll provide funding for homeless assistance. I think more germane to our conversation this year will be the community development programs. As I mentioned, the community development program, which was initiated in the 1970s with the Community Development Act, was designed to address locally identified needs for low and moderate income communities. The state has focused on a couple of primary program changes in the last 10 years. Approximately half the funding now is set aside primarily for competitive grants. Years ago, the program, when the state had a great deal more money, was all based on a formula program. The state had to rethink about that in 2013. As funding was cut, there were counties, Benton County, for example, that was receiving about $70,000 a year, and it simply wasn't getting anything done. So what the state did in 2013 is they decided they would cut out a lot of smaller communities that were direct grantees. London was one. Combine those with their counties, and then increase the amount of money that communities were receiving on an allocation basis. At the same time, they decided that they would then push about half the funding over to competitive grants to show both the legislature and Congress and HUD more impact. The two largest programs that we have been able to take advantage of are the Neighborhood Revitalization Program and the Critical Infrastructure Program. The Neighborhood Revitalization Program, essentially we look at an LMI village. We've done one in London. We've done one in Mount Sterling, Midway, and South Solon, and have a series of meetings asking the residents, what is it that they would like to see done? And then we work with the community, with engineers to develop a potential application for funding. Those projects typically, as with all the competitors, require pre-applications. The state wants to ensure that they're not being sent just something that was written 3 days before applications are due. They want applications that are competitive and fundable. Typically, any number of projects can be included. Generally, the state wants to see at least 3 or 4. They put real premium on citizen participation and, if possible, local matching money. Most recently in Mount Sterling, we carried out an NRG with the 2020 funds. We did significant drainage work. We also did a lot of work in the water and wastewater treatment plants. Both of their electrical systems were failing. And then the wastewater treatment plant, the grinder system, was also failing. And in addition, we did some demolition. The other high dollar competitive grant is the critical infrastructure grant. Mount Sterling has one now for the sanitary sewer work, kind of in that northeast west corner of the village. It was a subdivision that was built probably in the 50s or 60s, and absolutely no standards were applied by the developer. Most of it are now failing clay tile and brick sewers, and we've gotten the funding to go in there and try to clean it up because there was a lot of backwater into yards and so forth. We have met with Mount Sterling. We met with them on the 19th with their engineer. They have additional work that needs to be done at both the water and wastewater treatment plants. They have a cracked sludge pit at the wastewater treatment plant, and they're dealing with a number of other issues with their water plant and their filtering system. So that may be a priority for this year's funding. Other competitive grants, these tend to be more focused on economic development, which is Savannah's purview, would be the downtown program, which has now become more of a discretionary grant. They backed away from a formal program because they simply had too many problems with property owners backing out of the grant once they saw the cost of the program. But the economic development loan program, the ED infrastructure program, where we're developing an infrastructure to keep or retain private sector employment. Primarily, though, the caveat to that one is it has to show the benefit for LMI employees, either retention or new LMI employee jobs. And then we have what's known as the residential public infrastructure grant, and that is to provide water and or sanitary sewer. Those are typically used as the back end for much larger, like OPWC programs. The county had one for the Summerford Township project. Additionally, there's also the micro enterprise program, which the county can use to help smaller businesses. Typically, we have about 4 or 5 different ways to qualify grants. Before I forget, we also have the CDBG discretionary grant, which is just that. It is a worthwhile project that the state feels has an immediate need, and we just completed one when we finished the DD Board's parking lot, which I must say they are very happy about. There's no longer having to hope that children aren't run over in the morning. But there are a number of different ways that we use to qualify CDBG projects. The first one is the what they call direct service benefit and service area. That's where we use the ACS data, and that's where the villages and block groups become qualified under the ACS. There is the, when needed, a local survey. Years ago, the village of Midway, before it was considered LMI, went out and did one this time of year. The ladies went out in a golf cart and knocked on every door. There's the direct benefit. That's would be like the housing program. Also, what we used for the DD board was limited clientele. We demonstrated that although children are not technically considered to be disabled children are not considered to be LMI because potentially the parents might not be. We were able to show that they were all either on Head Start or the reduced or free lunch program, which made them LMI. Economic development, again, if we can qualify by the number of LMI households that are benefiting, then we have the slum and blight programs, which we typically have used historically for demolition. As you can see, kind of at the bottom of the second page, the county, in some ways, in terms of the CDBG program, benefits by its proximity to Franklin County. We have a much higher median household income of $109,000, which has enabled some of the communities like West Jefferson and London to become considered low and moderate income, as that number has gone up over the years. And what we do is they slice and dice the ACS data every 5 years. It takes a couple of years because HUD does try to actually produce numbers for every county in the country. So the ones that we're operating in now do consider West Jeff and London to be LMI, along with South Solon, Midway, and Mount Sterling. We are going to hold our biannual planning meeting next month on the 24th. And I will be sending out, emailing out material to all the villages, county organizations, to the Township Trustees Association to let people know to please come and attend if they can. We'll talk about potential projects and funding opportunities so that everyone is aware of the possibilities that what they're available for. I think that'll be particularly pertinent for West Jeff and London since their purviews now have expanded considerably. And with that, I'll open the door for any questions.
Thank you, Whitaker. Any questions from Mr. Wright?
Yeah, just one initial from me. The community engagement, you mentioned for a specific project, knocking on doors, I believe. When you're trying to ascertain what the community wants to see, as you described, is that done through the same type of surveying, or is that done through the town hall style meeting where people are invited and they can show up or not?
Both. When we've held the NRGs in the community, what we have done is we have the community send out a survey to all the households, asking them, what would you like? And we keep the survey very simple. Mine is a line with just a sheet of paper with lines on it, because I want to hear what residents have to say. I don't want them answering questions that I think they should answer. And then we hold a series of public meetings. Typically, we've held about 6 for each of the NRGs we conducted. And then we start working through the process. You know, just generally, we want to collect a large basket of ideas, eligible or not, it doesn't matter. And then we start winnowing those down as the fall. Typically, I do mine from the fall until about April. We'll winnow those projects down just by interest and what's actually physically eligible under the regulations. And then we get the engineers involved to get some initial costing because public infrastructure is horrendously expensive and no one ever believes the numbers until they see them. Once we get that, then we say, okay, here's the budget. We have $2 million worth of work and the grant's $750,000. We need to start making some selections. And that's, we just have have residents work through it. And it's a process that's worked very well. People really step up. They say, this is important. This is not important. This is our highest priority. This is what we need to have done. And then as we go through our meetings in March, April, even into May, we get more numbers, and we kind of play the Jenga sticks with budgets until everybody's comfortable with a potential application. And at least from my point of view, the NRG process has always been very successful.
Thank you for that.
Well, I think that's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Stay
Appreciate
warm.
your time. Always. Yep, we'll see you soon, Whitaker. Take care. At 9:45 regional planning. All right, it's now 9:45. This is the time we had set aside to continue the regional planning organization conversation. I don't know if anybody wanted to kick off that conversation.
Yes, I'd like to speak for the group as a secretary treasurer.
Sure.
The reason that I asked for, this time to meet with you is, because of the resolution, with a account transfer from our fund. And then also the, confusion over the decision that the zoning office was no longer going to do our clerical support. So, I understand that there was some misunderstanding with the clerical support, and I thought it best to bring it out in open session as to exactly what the level of support for our group is, through the zoning office and what it's going to be going forward. Also, there was some, discussion in the meeting on the 13th, reorganizing our commission, changing the member status, the member qualification for being a member, that type of thing. So I thought, let's just get it out in the daylight and talk about it.
Sure. And so I think the issue regarding clerical staff, I think that has been cleared up. I mean, I think Dennis maybe had misunderstood what his role was to be with that organization. I think, Rob, you had a conversation with Dennis and maybe that miscommunication or misunderstanding has been cleared up.
Yeah.
There will be a level of support from Dennis. Dennis will attend maybe not every meeting, but certainly be at meetings that pertain to zoning and development matters. That's my understanding.
That is correct. And, so the board's responsibility would be agendas and minutes. And the county's responsibility would be being in attendance and a support role, at the regional planning meetings for questions, or county concerns, but you know, it's your meeting, you guys run your meeting. And then we're going through some of the other clerical things that they've done for you in the past, such as mailings, and that sort of thing. And it, by all indications, since it's part of the zoning process, that the county would continue to do that. So those mailings, identifying, who needs to be contacted, so forth, so on, would continue. Now, with that said, and I'm glad you're early, Holly, and if I may, I had this in my, on my list for earlier today that we didn't get to, but, Holly has, taken the zoning amendment and she has, digested that information and made some comments, concerns, recommendations for changes to that zoning amendment, which then I read through, then passed off to Dennis. Dennis read through it, met with Holly. I don't think there was really any disagreements. I think all parties involved agreed on Holly's changes. Dennis was having difficulty or anticipated difficulty with the actual format, document format that we currently use. I reached out to Holly, I think Dennis did as well, saying, hey, can you put this into a new, more legible, easy to read format? And Holly, you jump in anytime.
Before you go to that subject, I do think there's still questions, because I've gotten multiple calls about the resolution that we passed with the change of the funds.
I got questions too.
Right, so I mean, I know that that's gonna be a broader discussion, but I don't know if you're tying those.
Well, I'm kind of going through the process to get to this here. which is, so one, Holly would put the new zoning amendment into a nice format. And then I also talked to Holly about coming in as on the consultant's fee to go through all our boards, regional planning, zoning commission, board of zoning appeals, look at all our processes, how we do things and make recommendations. So we are more efficient and can process things in a more timely manner. So she can identify things we don't need to do, things that are being duplicated, that sort of thing to make us more efficient. And also provide flow charts. So, once this permit's issued, it goes here, here, and here. If this is submitted, it goes here, here, and here, which we can provide to the boards. We can provide to the public. We can put on the county's website, that sort of thing, as well as working with the different boards on their roles and responsibilities to essentially train them so that they understand what their roles and responsibilities are. So that was the kind of the long-winded relationship that we have with Crossroads and how we get to what I'm asking for today, which is a signature on this agreement authorizing Holly to move forward with that additional consulting role.
And just to, you guys don't know me, but just from my background, for if anybody doesn't know, I did serve as the Regional Planning Commission Director at Fairfield County from 2009 to 2016. I'm back on contract with them, also now under Crossroads to help them with similar processes. So I'm very familiar with counties, regional planning commissions, how they operate, and can help the groups move through those issues or potential pitfalls they might be.
Thank you, appreciate that. Nick, what are your concerns with this resolution? What are the general concerns with this resolution?
I'm referencing the 13126. And the resolution was brought to my attention actually by township trustees. I don't think I was here for the meeting that this was passed, but my concern is that this fund was set up just a couple of years ago. And it was done in recognition of the fact that the Regional Planning Commission would need this assistance. I also was contacted by the auditor's office after they received this fund, and they were concerned that there are funds that are being moved that were payments from the townships. And that the transfers out are going to the general fund when actually some of these funds came from the township. I don't have confirmation of that, but they are reviewing to see to try to track the funds coming in. I guess I was confused because I was surprised to see this because I know that the county took on more of a role than the other members. But that was really part of the discussion at the time that it was created. So I'm concerned about the Regional Planning Commission being able to operate without having this fund in place. They're going to really struggle.
So that fund was in place. I assume we were putting funds in there. Those were also township funds that were contributed to regional planning. We were holding those in one county fund.
Right.
Okay, and you regional planning didn't have a separate operating account or anything?
I can address all of it. It's the regional planning, when it was initiated at the meeting that Chris, Nick, sorry, the reason that Nick officiated, I started with 0 funds.
Yep.
The township trustees, the townships each contribute $300. The county commissioners were to have a representative on the board. That representative was, originally, it was planned to be David Kelly. That way, we could be a county board under county guidance. We would have access to the zoning office staff for our clerical work, to do our mailings, to prepare our agenda, which that's not that big of an issue. But the main thing would be the mailings and the map showing the parcel and having those presentation available so that we could have visuals at our meeting. That and the legal notification, they were responsible for as well. Now, out of the fund that was generated with the membership fees, we pay for, insurance, and we've always had insurance since our inception. We pay for, advertising, as we reimburse Dennis's office for the advertising. I think there might have been one time that we reimbursed the commissioner's office. I'm not sure how that worked, but when Dennis presents us with a bill, or his office does, if it's a hurt, we pay. We reimburse to whoever, or pay, I have paid the provider directly a couple of times. So it's however Dennis and Jody have it say, that's who we pay. As far, then we had some carryover funds, but we have a third item, a line item, and that is outside, professional services. And the idea is to build that up in the event that we would ever need legal counsel. If there was any kind of, from the discussion when we created this group, if there were ever, an issue that involved the commissioner's office and our council and our commission that were not on the same side, Nick would be representing the commissioners, and we would have to retain our own legal counsel. So that's the reason that we had a carryover, and we continue to have a carryover. Right now, our carryover is right around $3,500. That's not much legal counsel. So over the years, the idea was, hey, we want to get that built up to where, you know, we would be able to sustain that service if we needed it. So that's where the funds come from.
Yeah.
There was discussion on the 13th, and there was a question as to whether or not this was being tracked. And I heard the statement, I believe it was from Dennis, but I'm not sure Levin's tracking that. Of course, I am tracking that. I've got a complete set of books. Our fund was designed to go through the treasurer's office, through the auditor's office, so that the county would have oversight. I was in favor of that. I had no intention of being the treasurer of this group and having an account at the Huntington Bank someplace operating like a 4-H club. I was in favor of our funds being administered through the auditor's office and the treasurer's office.
So that was gonna be my question. So that fund is the same fund he's talking about. Those are the one and the same funds. Okay.
And the county can hold that fund, even though they're an independent board,
County's a member of the
so they can.
commission. Yeah, that was part of the reason why we adjusted. There was a concern before that county resources were being utilized for an entity that the county was not a member of. So that was a big part of why the county became a member, to be able to do things like this, use the like Dennis's staff to be able to assist and create this fund.
Gotcha. So,
Not that it's required, but it would allow you to do that.
yeah, so the simple solution is moving money back.
Yes.
And the reason, because going into this discussion, we thought this was residual dollars, because we're going through the budget, and we thought it was residual dollars left over, and it's like, well, they're an independent board, why have we budgeted money for a board that the county, it's not a county board, so that's why the money got moved.
That was my understanding. Yeah, that's where the miscommunication, that's where my misunderstanding was on my part. I thought there were two funds. I thought they had their own fund, we had our fund, they were no longer utilizing our fund, they were taking in the membership fees basically and had their own fund. I didn't realize that there was only one fund ever. And so, yeah, if there's only ever been one fund, and this is the fund that we're using, and it makes sense to use that, then I have no problem with us continuing to use that fund. I was under the mistaken impression that they had their own fund, and this fund was no longer being utilized, and we were putting money into an account or a line that was no longer being utilized. If that's not the case, then I'm fine with that being utilized and being used for regional township or regional planning purposes.
And I will add that I know the auditor's office was concerned about source of the funds, the pay-ins, so they were going to track those. They might not have acted yet. So they're putting everything back in now, it might not be that different.
Yeah, and it's certainly, and certainly if there's obviously township funds that have been contributed, we want to make sure that those funds remain in that account. Yeah.
It shouldn't be any issue for them to track those funds coming in, because I do a pay-in
Yep.
every time with a deposit. And then also all the payouts go through that office as well, so.
And Jamie said that to me, that she could identify because they were paying payouts, that she knew they were coming from the townships.
Yeah, it makes sense from a, just a checking and balance standpoint, checking balance standpoint, to go through the auditors, to go through the treasurers. I have no problem with that. Yeah, like I said, I thought that was a line that was no longer being utilized. And if that's not the case, if that is being utilized, if that's what you're using for regional planning purposes, then I have no problem, with that continuing.
One of the other issues that I had with this whole situation is the lack of communication. At the meeting on the 13th, if anybody would have contacted me or Wayne Holland, we would have been happy to let you know what the fund was, where the income comes from, whether we were tracking it or not, whether the minutes are up to date.
Sure.
There was questions about us, making quorum, or possibly operating without quorum. We
No,
couldn't answer all.
in the past, that was an issue in the past and why we did the
That
reorganization.
was an issue in the past.
Yeah.
I freely acknowledge
Yeah.
that, back when this was a 20-member board and we had 6 municipalities.
Yes.
You didn't get those guys to come.
No, yeah, that's what we were, that's the only time I've referred to quorum, is issues in the past with quorum.
I made a statement, to one of the other members, how long are we going to carry this burden that all you guys have a history of operating without quorum? It's true, we do. But that history was the old board.
Yep.
Under the old organization. Since we've reorganized.
But yeah, I don't think quorum's a big issue.
We've never had a meeting without quorum.
I don't.
Yeah, we were basically stating why the board was reconstituted, was to be able to avoid the quorum issues in the past.
Yeah.
So it was nothing with the current board.
Yeah, so there are questions about reorganization, and sometimes there is a problem with lack of communication. I don't disagree. I probably will be attending more regional planning meetings in the future.
Some of my questions were pertaining to ongoing administration mailings and those things. So I thought it was stated that since the county wouldn't be doing that, that we wouldn't be receiving the funds. But I'm gathering something very different today, and I raised that question and concern, why wouldn't we continue to do it? But so it sounds like nothing is changing and we're just gonna rescind the resolution that was passed as a misunderstanding. Right? And then literally nothing will change. Is that everyone's understanding?
I think we do understand, that we're going to, we recap. We're responsible for creating our own agenda from the information that Dennis provides. And you can give us the cases that we have for each month. And we will be responsible for maintaining our financial records and also our meeting minutes and distributing those. Yes. So those, other than creating our own agenda, there's really no change there. If Dennis wants to keep doing our agenda, I'm fine with that as well. And in fact, if there's an issue with the mailings, because he would be doing our mailings for the 500-foot notification, and also the legal notices. If he incurs expense with that, and he would like to bill us for those expenses, we could reimburse that as well.
Makes sense. Yep.
We never have reimbursed him for any of his mailings or clerical, only the advertising expense on receipt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that office taking care of that. I mean, it's part of the rezoning process anyway. So I mean, I'm fine with Dennis and then the county continuing to pay for legal notices and mailings. That's part of our responsibility. Yeah.
Our point all along, we have to mail it out, or he mails it out for us. That's the first step. There's 2 other steps in which he mailed it out the same packet, right, to the same people.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense that he creates the packet in time to use it for us.
Sure. That makes perfect sense.
Right.
Yep.
Is there a way to kind of consolidate the mailings and get notice of the multiple different commissions hearings on the same notice? I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna.
Yeah.
Help with.
So if you're putting the zoning commission notice, the hearing is on the same paperwork as regional planning,
it's gonna be more efficient.
Yeah, I'm certain there's ways we can streamline the process. I have no doubt that Holly will get in there and find ways to
That was
make
one
this
of
more
those,
efficient.
one of those duplication
Very
efforts that I mentioned earlier. So, yeah, my point of bringing this up earlier, my long-winded explanation on things was to basically say, give us a little bit of time, give Holly a little bit of time, and hopefully we all come back together with a better process. Is processes, is that a word, or did I just make it up?
It's a word.
Better processes, better efficiency, and everybody's happier after the fact, so make it a little less cumbersome and difficult, so.
And I think a document regarding roles and responsibilities will be important for those boards as well, because sometimes there's confusion about what is our role in this process, right? I think that's a lot of confusion from the different boards, like what are we here to do? What decisions are we making? What impact do our decisions have? And so I think the roles and responsibilities for those various boards and commissions will be important as well. All right, folks, anything else for the good of the order regarding this particular topic?
But I have a couple things. So one, thanks for doing that. I think bringing Holly in, that's a very important thing for the county period, but for clarification going forward, would it be simpler to call this a hybrid board more than just an independent board? I mean, because the whole, like, even in our bylaws, I mean, the whole purpose of having a member of the commissioners on that board is to do maintenance of the board, you know, I mean, just to help maintain it going forward, et cetera. Would it make more sense just to name it as a hybrid board instead of because that seems to be the point of conflict all the time.
I don't know that naming it something, I mean, it's still
The
gonna be
name's
called.
set by statute.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna still be a regional planning commission, so I mean, yeah, we could say it's a hybrid, but it's really a regional planning commission with county support. I mean, I don't know that changing the name, I don't, like, it's set by statute, so I don't know, we can change it to a hybrid regional planning commission.
No, I'm not saying change the name in that process, it's just that when we
Start
talk about it,
referring it.
yeah, we refer to it as a hybrid board instead of an independent board, because I think that creates walls. You know, I mean, when we have discussions or differences, so.
Sure.
You know, and not, I mean, I don't think that needs to be documented on paper, it kind of is, you know what I mean, if you read it, but
Right.
it's not necessarily talked about, so.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a copy of the bylaws, or of the bylaws of the group?
I'm sure I do somewhere.
Okay.
I gave him a copy when.
Yeah, so they probably.
So I didn't know if that was back when Mark was around, so I don't know if that, you know, got shoved in. But, you know what I mean, how things move, so, okay.
Yeah, and just in Dennis's defense, and bringing Holly in was just to bring in extra resources, just based on time. He didn't have enough time to do code enforcement and permitting and everything else, and then, accomplish everything that we needed him to accomplish within a reasonable time frame. So.
Said to Dennis, I'm willing to help you, but I don't want to step on your toes.
Yeah.
And he said, I need your help. That's what he said to me.
Yeah.
We were all thinking along this line.
Well, this policy followed the same format that we were trying to accomplish, where this policy would come to us. The first step path to go to.
Yep.
Okay.
Which policy are you referring to? You're referring to the zoning amendment?
So,
The new zone.
yeah, that we struggled with for
Yeah.
8 or 9 months.
Yeah. So, I guess there's another point in there too, so, Holly, when you get to the responsibilities of our board, the actual, role that's in that book today, it's not been adopted by our board.
Okay.
So our current role is far less than what's in there. So that was what the old board did. So there's probably an area of discussion that we need to clean that up. And there's another document that's out there with the subdivision board that's actually governed by us, that's not governed by us anymore. So
I've already noticed that too, so I'm gonna sit down with you as a group and with Dennis and make sure that we go through and highlight all those areas and talk through it, and then make sure it's documented correctly.
okay, then let me get your contact later too. So if you need, we can sit and go through what I found.
All right. There's something else?
I just wanted to say, and also in Dennis's defense, that was insurmountable task for him to do. This is what we were asked to approve. I'm glad that Holly is on board. I'm hoping that she can condense this down to a workable document.
It'll be half that size.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, and addressing the books going away kind of thing that we talked about, you know.
Well, thanks, everyone. That was a productive conversation, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
No, it's just an agreement.
You asked if I. If I do, it's like paper copy. I know I. Bang, bang, yeah, so I have that.
Yeah, that, a lot of that documentation, maybe. You're right. I mean, I created it all, now whether or not they dump stuff in there, I don't.
Which is different than the, like.
Yeah, so they go into team itself. Yeah, so that's his, so. I'll show you, you're in teams. You see economic development.
Better than outside.
I know. I have to go.
Go back.
Yeah.
But hopefully, like, your bank's got.
Sure.
Glad you organize that however you want.
This is the last two meetings and every concern.
Oh, I was, on a cruise.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear
I
that.
don't, yeah, I like
Doing well.
different things in different places. Like, I don't care how it is organized, like, if you organize it the way you want it. I just- Have access to it, because everything like time. Like struggling to figure out where it's all at, like you're doing right now. I would work with David with one job.
I agree.
So. There's so much. Yeah, Amy, you know how we talked about the water immersion, ice baths? You can just run and jump in the snow now.
It's true.
No.
No, talked about it, yeah. It did work out, but I was really sweaty, and I thought, I think I just go out and
Information.
watch my steam.
I would try it. I will try it. But it sounds something that's really easy to do at home.
Yeah.
Part of my role at the.
You have a pond, don't you?
It's kind of nice.
Get away from 2 years.
I got it. So, I got a nice soccer. I can tap off.
Yes. Okay.
No reason. I guess.
Yeah.
So you guys.
Is the next SCIC meeting? Is it tonight? Chris, are you going to SCIC tonight?
But if I'm lost.
No, I'll be
No, I'll be there.
So there's, look, virtual, just give a high. Either way, it would be very different.
At least the first one.
I'm sure.
Do you know how many people can be there in person?
I haven't done this now.
Can you have the meeting virtually?
Yeah, we can do it virtually. Is there technology in that room to do it?
In the engineer's office? Oh, yeah.
So, yeah,
I'd say if we have at least a decent half the people maybe can show up, I mean, I plan to be there in person.
You can vote virtually.
so, and that's part of it, is the policy is that we can vote virtually, but it says like not on budgets, so we have a budget, so we have to push that. And then there's, adding me into the accounts. And I don't know if that counts, kind of organizational changing, if that reaches that bar or not.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like bigger things, we should be in person to vote on the policy. So
Let's see, we can get a tally of how many candidates in person.
and if it's over half,
Yeah, if we can. I mean, I'm sure Pat can attend in person. I don't know if Jim said he could be there in person. I thought he said Jimmy Davis said he could be there. He usually attends in person.
then it's probably.
I just talked to Jeff. I said, Jeff said he'll be there.
So Paul. Friends and can. Fosters and everything. So yeah, I'll go back through. And Kevin Woods said,
Yeah, he's trapped.
correct.
He's trapped probably in German village. I think he was in German village, so yeah, he probably is. Snow plows probably trapped him in.
It's been all day to dig them out.
I think, so he told me, so it'll take a while. They could, he did say, he said, well, maybe by 5:30, they'll have me dug out.
It's for mine, but I cost like 10 vehicles that were in accidents. I'm like, the roads are nothing.
Yeah, just the Central Ohio drivers,
They've been there first.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but there were people that was there was police light on. So it had just happened.
I don't know if that's the director. Tonight.
I came up 40 and was hard.
We have a five. But that's the recommendation. Right, you're in the middle of, who's getting, who cares?
Tony.
Bring it back.
I don't know.
It's not over. Oh, she's very.
Yeah, his phone's still here, so I don't think he thinks it's over.
Calls.
Yeah. There it is.
On a hot air.
Open up the, Tony, open up the what's in there.
I ain't got nothing.
Huh? Hot air rises. Look at that.
Look at that. It won't stay.
Look at it.
Such great technology back in the day.
It's really
Nice.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
You put me on your shoulder. Hot. Perfectly fine. Well, your hands are cold, damn.
Don't touch me.
That's one.
So, and. Geez, we didn't have any potential HR violations for 2 weeks. It's fine. All right. Very good. Let us keep the show rolling. All right. Well, Rob, I think you really already did most of the explanation. But your point long-winded earlier.
Yes.
You want to do it a little short-winded this time, perhaps.
Oh. Well, I mean, Savannah's involved too.
Well, you see, yes, go ahead, go ahead.
So, 161 corridor, go back in time, development starts to happen, Dublin, Plain City, Durham Township, Marysville, somebody else I'm probably forgetting. They are concerned at that point in time of what planning has went in, what the thought process is, what development looks like. Hey, we need to form this collaborative group to discuss the corridor. That evolved into bringing Holly on and
Jamie Green.
Jamie Green, as facilitators to the conversation. That has now evolved into, hiring an engineering firm to do a study on the 161 corridor. This is, now we're up to date from Friday's meeting. Basically, we have a kind of a boundary of what was, an idea of the boundary of what was involved. I did make the recommendation to move that boundary north into Jerome Township farther, because I think if those entities have concerns, then we should have concerns as well with what happens in those jurisdictions, because they will impact Darby Township and Madison County. So we do have a estimated cost of $220,000, $298,000.
Yeah, so we ended up, rounding up to just the 200,000 just for discussion
Yeah,
purposes.
so $200,000 estimate, and with the discussions on Friday, going back and forth, it seemed like if the three largest entities, that would be Union County, Madison County, and Dublin, would basically split the half of the project, and then I think that got bumped up to 120,000. So what we would be on the hook for would be for $40,000. And then the remainder, the townships, Plain City, they would split that amount. So my thought is that if you want to see a nice professional planning study of that corridor, which, includes part of Dublin and, a little bit of Plain City, and have some other entities share in that cost, then it's probably, something that you would want to consider. With that said, part of that corridor has already developed. I know you guys at Darby Townships put some thoughts and efforts into planning. Madison County has as well. So ultimately, the decision today is, one, do we want to continue in this collaborative discussion with these other entities? And two, are you willing to financially contribute to the study of that corridor?
Yeah, that, I mentioned, there's all kinds of studies that have already been taking place in that area. And so this would really just kind of consolidate all of that for that specific area and kind of list what people have said and what the different jurisdictions are visually, envisioning for that area. So there's that component of already taking use of all of the studies and work that's been.
Right. Sorry, we've already, kind of compared like Madison County and Dublin's plans. That was our first step to show. So Jamie and I could show how we would take two plans and kind of come back and say, these are the yield studies for both of them. This is how many housing units, how many square feet of commercial unit you would get out of this plan versus this plan, and then how to mesh those together. This would take that and do it all the way through the corridor for Plain City, Derby, Madison, and Dublin, and making sure that all of their plans have some kind of alignment to them, at least as commonalities, to show what the potential outcome could be for that.
So I'm a little bit behind on this, because I wasn't here for a bit. And, so, Dublin is ramming in to Madison County. And we're gonna have a beautiful plan for $200,000, which I'm not against contributing to. So we put this plan together. Well, what stops Dublin from continuously ramming into Madison County?
So my ultimate goal coming out of this plan is to hopefully have some kind of shared agreement, either through a CETA agreement or some kind of acknowledgement of we're all going to agree to this plan. And then if there's a potential for revenue sharing, those are conversations we have to have. But that's the goal, is to work together versus against each other. I know it's hard to envision, given the state that we've been in. But I've seen it happen in other areas, so.
And I hope it does too, because I mean, if we collaborate, I think we can get a lot done.
Yeah.
But I'll say, this is me speaking personally. I think Dublin's gonna do what Dublin wants. And they're not gonna think twice about even consulting with us or doing things like that. Cause all the stuff that they've done up to this point, it wasn't a total surprise, but I think they're thinking out for themselves. I don't really think they care much about what Madison County thinks or what Jerome Township thinks. And that's just my personal feelings. And is it called mistrust? Well, yes, it is. So, unless there's something concrete, that we can all agree on, if they keep annexing, they're gonna annex some more now, right? So what guarantee do I have my $40,000 is actually gonna do
No
it?
guarantee.
Exactly. And I'm willing to spend it,
Yeah,
in good faith, but, it'd be nice to have something.
sure. And I
To
would
say,
say
hey.
my goal
Well,
is to, but I can't guarantee it. But I also, on the flip side of it, see that if we don't participate in this,
Yeah, they're gonna
they're
do
just
it.
gonna come and do what they wanna do, where this will help us influence what maybe some of that decision is.
So the $200,000, did you call it an engineering study?
So it actually, the $200,000, it's on the second to the last page, it's broken down. So the land use and development and corridor design, that's 75,000 of it. That would be split between planning next and me. And then the economic insights would be a third-party economic group. I believe that it's a group that Planning Next typically utilizes out of Boston. And then the engineering inputs would be that 60,000. And that's where they're gonna do their EMH&T or Burgess and Michael.
So this would include, like, I assume, kind of utility studies as well. We'll be looking at the water, sewer,
Yes.
gas, electric,
Yes.
the improvement of roads, if that's gonna be necessary as part of this as well. So I think it'll be all encompassing, hopefully looking at infrastructure in that area.
Yep, the other thing to be mindful of is that, WorkC is working on what they're calling a thoroughfare plan for the area. And that's being, done with WorkC and ODOT. And that's gonna be another 85,000. It's an effort that they have been doing on their own outside of this process. We don't know if what they're gonna come and ask communities to pay for that. Jamie and I tried to get in touch with Morpsey and ODOT to try to get that aligned with this, to maybe do one ask versus them coming separate. But we were never able to get that coordinated. So just be aware that that study is out there. The engineering for 60,000 in this plan would probably focus more on water, sewer, gas, that kind of.
Yeah, because to me, that's what the bigger benefit is in studying that infrastructure in that area, what we need for long-term development in that area. I think as Rob alluded to, we've kind of done studies on what we want to see in that area. We put together an overlay district working with Derby Township that kind of, highlighted or outlined our goals and visions for that area. Dublin's already has a document that they produced that outlines goals for that entire area as well, their Western Innovation District. So I think people have kind of already shown what they want for that area in terms of actual development. I mean, to me, where the benefit is where are we at in truly developing that corridor in terms of infrastructure that will be needed to support that development. And so if that can be accomplished through this study, that's something I think I can support. I mean, to Tony's point, yeah, it's not gonna stop Dublin, I don't know that there's much we can do. I mean, I know what we can do to stop them. It's the JED. It's getting property owners signed up for the JED. I've been harping on that for a year now. Everyone's probably tired of me saying it, but that's the way we stop Dublin. That is it. That is the game. That is it. Getting property owners to sign up to be members of that JED is how we stop Dublin. And that needs to still continue full pace, even with this study and collaboration being done.
Has there been anything that we can point to from the past where we've been able to influence in any way Dublin or the region?
Madison County specifically, being able to influence.
Yeah, because I mean, I
don't think we've tried. huh?
it's,
No, we haven't tried.
well, through meetings, right? There's been a lot of meetings and they cited that in the hearing. They even said, they kind of gave a nod to the idea of we're working in partnership and where we didn't support what they were doing, right? But they kind of used that, the fact that you have it. So I just wonder if it's just under the guise of, see, we're being good partners, we're working with you. Oh, by the way, you're helping to defray the cost for us. And then we're just gonna go ahead and do what we want to do anyway. It's a real concern. What Savannah referred to, with putting together the studies that have already been done, which piece of this is that?
I believe it's a couple, it would be the land use and development, because that's, like Chris mentioned, that Dublin's already put together what they want to see for the area. The township has, and then I don't know how far Plain City's plans kind of take that area into consideration, but it would mostly be the land use plan. And then maybe, and to a certain extent, maybe some of the engineering too, with taking into consideration, working concurrently with the ODOT and Corp C plan and other road work.
I also think the character corridor design is a big part of this. And I find that in other county municipalities that try to work together, that they're really hone in on that character. And if they can come up with a design standard that is utilized by both entities consistently along a corridor, that the city buys into the county a little bit more when that is created.
And I would definitely agree with that, because part of what I heard someone say in the past is residents and people don't know the jurisdiction delineation. They just are driving along a road. They're just assuming they're driving wherever they're assuming, and it's not necessarily right, And so part of that, from, I think I'm not a planner or designer, so I don't necessarily, my mind doesn't go to how important the corridor design is, but that also incorporates how you feel whenever you're moving from place to place. And from a municipality standpoint, and townships, I think, hear about that too, but it's different, priorities. And so that, I think it will help the people who are moving through that area feel that kind of, whatever it is they're wanting to feel, whether it's a rural kind of, because that really goes into what you want the corridor to look like. Is it more rural, is it more urban, suburban? That's what that line item will take into consideration, which will kind of just make it consistent, so you're not driving by, farm fields and then having like a 3-story residential right up next to the, whatever it is, so.
Can you speak to the impetus for these meetings, this collaboration at this point in time? I mean, as you know, a lot of development has already occurred east of the railroad track along the 161 corridor. And I don't recall, and Ron, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, if there's ever been any desire on behalf of Jerome Township or Dublin to reach out to Darby Township or Madison County and say, hey, here's some thoughts, ideas we've had of what's happening east of the railroad track. We'd like your thoughts, inputs, ideas. I mean, that never occurred, right? And so now I feel, that they want our thoughts, they want our ideas, they want to know what we're doing, right? It's almost like they want to hear from us, but at no point in time, they want to hear from us regarding development that's occurring in our jurisdiction in Darby Township in Madison County, but at no point in time did they really ever reach out to us regarding what was happening east of the railroad track. So I find it a little troubling that now they're so concerned with, our affairs in our jurisdiction. And so I don't know if you can speak to that, why now they have a keen interest in this area, why now they want intel from us, why now do they want to do studies with everybody in the room and everybody holding hands and singing Kumbaya and everybody chipping in money when that wasn't the case in the past. And I have to comment on their development east of the railroad track. If I did have input into it, I would say it's not very good.
Right.
You know, it's a bunch of nondescript buildings and big box retail. Thank you for Sawmill Road. It's not impressive. So they're very concerned with what we're doing. I would say if I had to give them a grade for what they did east of the railroad track, I would give them a D. You did a very poor job. And so if you think we're gonna do any worse than that, I think they're very wrong.
I can appreciate what you guys are all doing. When I heard the price tag on this engineering, I groaned inwardly because so our township is slowly being bled by cost moving forward, while we may be one of the higher revenue townships in the county, we're being bled, but Holly, I talked about that. I said, Holly, it's just all costing money. Right now, everything's money. And Holly said, but Myron, if you don't play, you won't.
That's
And
my biggest concern, for sure.
yeah, and so, whether or not, that, I mean, we are an entity to be conquered right now. That's literally what we are. We're an entity. Darby Township is an entity to be conquered.
And I think this group started maybe 9 months ago, 10 months ago. It was before the annexation was filed.
It's probably maybe a year at most.
And
Well, it was right after our meeting with Marysville.
My good friend Terry Emery, a good
Yeah.
friend of mine.
I'll tell you how it started. It started with a call from Jamie to me saying, I've been working, he represents Dublin, and I've been working with my client and we'd like to, figure out a way that we can work collaboratively. So that's how it started.
Look, I think there's valuable information. Tony said this too. There's valuable information to be gleaned here, even if it is just from an infrastructure standpoint, right? We're getting beneficial information that we can use, right? And pay, only a portion of that. I have no doubt that there'll be things in there that we can use, even though we have thoughts, ideas for that corridor. This will serve as a long-term planning document for us as well in that, 161 corridor. So if we can get people to pitch in, to help implement our vision, then I'm in favor of it. I think we know what we can do to stop Dublin and the tools we have to stop Dublin from further annexing into Madison County.
I agree with Polly too. That idea would, best case scenario would be some type of agreement that if we are gonna work together, kind of, making it enshrined in an agreement document, what we're all kind of responsibilities are.
Yeah, and not to harp on this point too, but they're very concerned with what we're doing, they're annexing property into Madison County. At no point in time have they told us what their goals are for the particular property. And what are you gonna do with that 79 acres you just annexed? What are your plans for that? They've never had, I don't think they've ever.
I asked.
I mean, yes, we have this Western Innovation District, but other than that document, we really don't have, hey, what's your intent? Or
Continue to farm was the answer that I got.
yeah, and that's a bullshit answer, pardon my language. I mean, yeah, sure, you might be farming it for the next 2 to 3 years, but you're not gonna be farming it for the next 10, 15. Right there, I mean, there's a long-term plan there. They just don't wanna tell us. And so I'm loath to, sorry to cut you, I'm loath to share information with them, right? We're gonna do what we wanna do, in support of Darby Township.
Yeah.
That's my point.
So I just have one more question. This specific agreement, was it just handed to you or were you involved?
I was involved in it.
You were involved.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Jamie
that's a
and I,
positive.
Jamie and I met several times to go over this and prepare this.
Yeah, I think I forwarded this a week or two ago to you
And we
guys.
updated it. That's what I passed out today was the updated version.
Because I noticed this has a new map.
New map. Yeah, unfortunately, my printer was running out of ink.
Yes, it's one thing to note, it's the map of the study area. It's difficult to see the yellow boundary, but that basically gives you an idea of what the area is. And, as I suggested, was that Friday?
Yeah.
Friday's meeting. Does that boundary go north into Jerome Township as well, since their activity will,
Yeah,
following their train of thought, their, activity in those areas will impact the township and the county.
no, I'm happy to see the study area was expanded to include portions of Union County and Dublin.
Is it fair to assume that there'll be an actual written agreement that Nick can review for us and that'll come before
The
us?
agreement will go through, right now, they're talking about the Union County CIC. And the purpose of that is because then it can go faster, it doesn't have to go through all of the different entities, groups. But there will be an agreement that you guys can review and see, but it'll go through the CIC.
And then I assume we have
I'm
to,
going through Madison County CIC.
And he said that, so it could,
Yeah, he did offer, and I said we could do it, but I think it's
Doesn't matter.
6 in one, half dozen in the other. So our agreement will be with the Union County CIC.
and then once it's in place, I mean, do we vote on it? Or do they go through the Union County CIC and
on the plan or on the contract.
on both?
So the contract would just be signed up on the CIC, you would just be making a contribution to that.
Your agreement would be in basically agreeing to paying.
And whatever.
And so through that, you would,
We basically just pass a resolution authorizing that expenditure.
yeah,
And that's it.
and that would be,
We wouldn't be a signatory to that document.
Correct. And then as far as the actual end product plan document, yes, you could pass a resolution to endorse it or to whatever you want.
Yeah, we probably just use it as reference, right? I mean, I don't think we do anything official with that plan.
I would say I told Jamie, I think the most any of the communities should do would endorse it by
Yeah.
resolution, but not adopt it as formal
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
And then if any agreements that come out of it as far as working collaboratively, you would approve those.
Yep, that makes sense to me. Gentlemen, any other questions, concerns, comments?
Some concerns.
Yeah, what?
Appreciate your,
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of timeframe,
February 13th.
13th.
is when the vote on the expenditure need to happen.
That is when we come back to our next meeting, which say
Started, yeah.
we're on board. I don't know if we necessarily have to have the agreement in place by that
I
day.
don't think so, but I think they want to know which entities have agreed to
Yeah.
participate.
And then they'll draft a formal agreement
Mhm, yeah.
after that meeting,
Yeah,
based on the feedback they receive at that meeting.
I mean, maybe Marysville comes back and says, hey, we don't have a dog in this fight, or we have no interest. So then that cost is going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next meeting, just kind of for everybody to take this, digest it, come back and see what money they're willing to contribute. Then go from there and drafting the formal agreement.
Yes.
Very good. Sounds like a plan.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Did you have anything else for the good of the order, sir?
I do. See these. But basically I have two agreements here, exclusive rights to sell and lease listing contract. One is a renewal with our current realtor on the sale of the outlots of surplus property. Basically it's 6% to the broker. And then the other one is also 6%. It's on the lease for the old Kirfot building Kirfot office space that we remodeled. So they will list it and lease it for us. And their brokerage fee is 6% for the term of the lease. So.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions?
So what's the next step?
Just gibber at that.
What's the next step with that? It goes to the,
So this is just
Just
the
agreeing
agreement with the broker, because right now he's doing all this without an agreement, like we could totally
Gotcha.
bail.
just asking if it's okay for you to sign.
Yes, or county administrator this time.
This one.
Yep, and I will sign those and get those over to him. So then, there was a slight mistake on, what I reported last week or the week before. the parcel numbers got mixed up. So the proposed purchase agreement is not the 1 acre in front of TSC. It is 1.4 acres next to Rich gas station. So it's like green space basically right there. For that one.
So we're selling the 1.4
The 1.4 is.
by the
what that
gas
is.
station,
By the gas station,
not the one in front.
not the one in front of TSC's display. Everything else is the same.
Price was the same.
Yeah, everything is still the same. It was just like, oh no, we meant that one, not that one, so. So that process then will go to the CIC, we'll agree to sell that property on behalf of the county. Purchase agreement comes in. So,
Would be in, thank you.
yeah,
Anything else, sir?
That's not what they want.
no, so. Except for whether or not you want to enter in that, into Holly's agreement or not, that's also for the county administrator to sign, so.
Do we have a separate resolution for that or not?
We don't, we
Good to know.
could probably sign it next Tuesday. Sure. Yeah, so.
Okay. Let's do that. Amy, the show is yours.
Yeah.
You've been gone for 2 weeks, calm down.
Yes, I'm as bummed as I could be.
You don't wanna listen to me?
Oh, absolutely do. I missed you.
Aw.
Oh, sure.
All right. Resolution 136-26, presented on behalf of Jennifer Hunter, Madison County Auditor. A resolution approving the payment of invoices by the Madison County Auditor.
So moved.
Second,
First and second, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Shea?
yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 137-26, presented by Amy Reese, Clerk of Madison County Board of Commissioners. A resolution granting the annexation of approximately 7.90 acres from Darby Township to the city of Dublin in compliance with the order of the Madison County Court of Common Pleas.
Move to adopt the version that I submitted yesterday.
That's what was in front of you, or what I'm reading.
Oh, that's what
Yeah,
you.
that's what I switched out, yes.
So it's the same one. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Can I just see that real quick? I think I read it, but I just want to confirm that I read the right version.
Very exclusive. Thank you. Very exclusive.
I didn't say that out loud.
I'm not trying to be better.
You made the motion, did you second?
I second.
Thank you, sir. For the first and a second, any other discussion?
Yeah, I just would like to make a couple comments, given that this is the type of thing that I could definitely see confusion over. So just a little background again, for anyone who's listening, maybe Amy could provide some of these points in the meeting minutes for next week, but this was a regular annexation petition that came to us back in June. And the city of Dublin was pursuing regular because they wanted the EMS to switch to Washington Township. So that gave us the ability to have a hearing. We had the hearing. We considered the facts. We ultimately denied the petition. And then Dublin appealed. So it went to Madison County Court of Common Pleas. The judge remanded it back to us to approve. And essentially, my understanding of the ruling was that while public services or safety services are a legitimate concern, there was not enough presented on the record to justify denying. As I included in the resolution that we have before us, I think that Ohio law is unnecessarily and disproportionately in favor of the receiving entity. And I've been in touch with a state rep who's working on that issue. And I also think when you're talking about inter-county, there's a lot of considerations involved, and certainly when there's safety concerns. So I am definitely doing this only out of feeling compelled by a court order. And I don't think I speak for myself on that, but I just wanted to make that very clear. I would say that, well, I might reach a different conclusion than the judge had. I do believe he did his best to apply the facts, and my biggest consternation is actually with the law, which I think should be changed. So I just wanted to state those things for the record, and if you could include some in the response, I'd appreciate it.
Very good. Got a first and a second? No other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Davis?
No.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 13826, presented by Amy Ray, clerk of Madison County Board of Commissioners. A resolution designating an alternate representative to the One Ohio Recovery Foundation for calendar year 2026.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 13926, presented by Amy Reese, clerk of the Madison County Board of Commissioners. A resolution approving the execution of Federal Aviation Administration Airport Improvement Program sponsor certifications for fiscal year 2026.
So moved.
Second.
We have first and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 14026, presented on behalf of John Slaney, Madison County Sheriff. A resolution authorizing a transfer of funds and increasing appropriations for the Madison County 911 Center for calendar year 2026.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 14126, presented on behalf of Sherry Baldwin, Madison County Department of Family and Children. A resolution authorizing the transfer of funds and increasing appropriations for the Madison County Department of Family and Children Services.
Second.
First and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 14226, presented on behalf of Kevin Weaver, Madison County Deputy Engineer. A resolution approving preliminary legislation for the replacement of the structure on Madison County Road 117, Lewis Road over Spring Fork, and authorizing the county engineer to execute an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 143-26, presented on behalf of Jennifer Hunter, Madison County Auditor. A resolution increasing appropriations to the county audit expense line.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. Any other discussion?
Did the price go up?
I don't think it was budgeted. I think it might have been an oversight.
Yeah, but I don't ever remember that fee being so.
It's across, I mean, Summerford Township was $9,000, and I heard that on all townships when I went to the conference at the fees, which has gone way up. So probably.
Very good. First and a second. Anything else for the good of the order? Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Wallace?
Yes.
Resolution 144-26, presented on behalf of Deidre Huntington, Madison County Family and Children First Council Coordinator. A resolution approving amendment number 1 to the grant agreement TCYG 2627-0436 with the Ohio Department of Children and Youth.
So moved.
Second.
First and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
This one you have not seen. I got it over the weekend and we weren't here Monday, so I don't know if it's needed to be passed today, but I don't think it's that controversial. Resolution 14526, presented by Amy Reese, clerk of Madison County Board of Commissioners.
A resolution approving amendment number 2 to the County Development Block Grant Agreement for the 2022 Residential Public Infrastructure Program. And basically, they had $50,000 left over from all the taps into the county residences in Summerford. And they're going to use that money for more infrastructure improvements on the other side of it. It's $50,000.
So moved.
That's it.
Pass.
Good.
It was a $750,000 grant to begin with.
What do you think about the senior side?
That's nice. Second, anyone else?
I'm good with it. I know it's.
Yeah, give a second.
Yeah, first and a second, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Dr. Sneakus?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes,
Thank you. That's all I have.
thank you. All right. Ladies, gentlemen, anything else for the good of the order?
I just wanted to say one last thing, I just want to make sure it's clear that if for some reason you decided not to move forward, or Darby decided not to move forward with this 160-month order, I would not participate in that contract, because I'm in contract with you and with Darby, and you're working collaboratively together, and I feel like I can represent both of you, but if one or the other decided not to participate in that, I would not participate.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure you're clear on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Mhm.
All right, hearing nothing else, meeting adjourned. This.